Alright, so TTA is back. Wonderful news. I've been playing. I have played a grand total of 8 open games so far, which isn't all that many, but closed is easier to jump back into, and there's a lot more games available. And I just wanted to go over my 8 games. I went over Delhi's first 6 games. I intend to go over some games by other players that we'll get to, but it's easiest to keep track of my own games, so I wanted to show them. I was pretty excited by them. I thought I'd played pretty well for having, I've been thinking a lot about Triple Triad, but not actually getting to play much. The computer is not as impressed with my play as I thought it would be. So let's get into it. I'm going to be the hand in red in the first game. The first 4 games were not randoms. The next 4 games will be randoms. So if you want to see some randoms rather than this hand, skip to around halfway into the video and look for a hand that isn't with these A9 6-4s, because I'm just going to be playing this one hand for the handed games. I think this hand is incredibly powerful. In some internal testing I did, I think this is one of the most powerful kind of level 10 hands available, so don't steal it because it's mine. 2 opposite A9 6-4s are really powerful. The A7 6-7s play really well off them. This is most commonly seen with Squall, Cypher, and Kyros, that this is just this incredible combination. This is the same thing, but we have an extra A7 6-7 to play off them. And then the 6-8 8-6 both controls the potential corners as starters, but also sometimes helps play off the 4s, because the 10s and the 6s can plus an 8 and a 4, and that's a theme we'll see occasionally coming up in these games. So, forgot to actually bring up the move orders so I could play them out properly. Alright, here we go. This first game was against Alamar. I said I wasn't sure if I'd be naming opponents, but I'm going to name ones that I think would be either got a good result or would be comfortable with me naming them, and Dalamar said he's totally fine with it. So, this first game's against Dalamar. The main choice at the start, how I like to play the hand, you probably could play a 5-starter or other things, but I like to start with one of the corners, either this or this. And in this case, I looked for which corner they have better. I noticed they have that 8-6-7-8, so I went with this one, which I think was the right choice. And Dalamar sets up in 5. And you can see this sets up Chrono in 8, 9-4, A6, and also sets up 7-8-7-6 nicely in 6, and 8-6-7-8 also covers 6. And there's some other potential synergies with the hand, which is to say this is a very normal, reasonable looking move, and it is in fact a losing mistake. Which is one of those mistakes that it's really hard to criticize a player for, because it's a very normal move. I have one side covered, I'm going to go cover the other side. And it is kind of remarkable that it's losing. And so I guess I want to make a couple broader points about this. One is, I think center plays in response to corners are just very likely to lead to decisive results compared to other plays. They lead to kind of more complicated positions with a number of options. And I will say, there is a winning plan here for red. I missed it. I did not play a winning move here. So it's one of those things where it's complicated, it takes on high risk, it has higher reward in some ways. I think it does have higher reward. And so I think it is an interesting type of move, but one that when you cannot afford to lose a game, I tend to drift away from. So I personally tend to meet things with center plays, unless they really align just so well, more in casual games than in tournament games, because I don't want to risk losing in a tournament game. So why does this lose? Part of it is that the A6-7-6s are awesome, and there are actually a couple ways to do this, but the main point is I can play in 6. And if they capture my card from above, they do not have a good way to do so. For instance, here, I can combo them, and they don't really have good setups, right? If they play here, I always have to combo back, and again, they don't have a setup. And similarly, if they play this one, I just can same wall it. If they play this one, I can plus wall it. There might be other moves I can throw in, but they don't have a good way to capture my card, so they're sort of left, if making standard moves at least, with locking in the card the other way. And here, I believe I can just block 3. And you can see sort of the point of they don't have a good card to put in 7, because anything I capture it with, I'm going to keep this as a sweeper for the end. So for instance, let's say this move, they go 7, I capture it, and they don't have the recapture in 1, And this card is actually, this A676 is actually a dominant side-to-side sweeper because I can combo the recapture and I'm going to be able to combo anything else they play. And so I think 6-8-8-6 is just a win here against Chrono and 8. And it's just one of those lines where a totally normal move was made in 5 and it loses to quite precise response. So I think other plays in 6 also do win. I didn't check them all, so maybe some don't and some do. But 6 is very powerful here. I didn't see it. I was going for more standard setups and missed just locking in my starter. But I think one of the ways I probably do miss this hand is I don't see opportunities like this enough where you can sort of immediately combat what the opponent just did. I instead played here, which just seemed very logical and sensible to me. My A6-7-6 is fantastic in 6, it's fantastic in 1, it's fantastic in 3. I just felt I'm setting up so many things. And I think while Dahl's first move can't really be criticized, his next move I think was a more significant mistake. Because while 7's actually not so bad a square to play here, if you look at this position for a while, I don't think there's anything in 3 or 6. I think, you know, the options are going to maybe be in 1. There might be something in 8, but it looks pretty hard to put something good there. You kind of want to make the game up-down. So 1 and 7 are sort of logical ways to do so if you don't have a good play in 3 or 6. But this just sets me up too much, right? My 6-6-8-8 is now too good in these two squares. So I spent a while thinking of where I wanted to go, and the places that appealed to me were 1 and 3, trying to leave open 4 and 8 because, again, the 6-8-8-6 plays so well there. And at first I was looking at this play. At first I was looking at this play because I thought if they take it, you know, if they take it with a Chrono, I can just go here and I have a crushing combo at the end. No, I don't. Sorry. I go with the other card. What am I doing? If they take it with Chrono, they flip the middle card, so I go here and I have a crushing combo at the end with 6-8-8-6. If they take it this way, they flip the card in 9, and I figured I also had good combos in reply. I think here they might be able to just block 4 and just start blocking my combo squares, because the thing is, I'm going to kill him in 4 or 8, and so he really needs to block one of those immediately. And if he blocks 8, 6 is so juicy because there's no paired square that competes over the same real estate because he doesn't have anything in 4. So I think he has to block 4 immediately. And then I got drawn to this one because I noticed if he takes this way, same stuff happens, right? This should just be winning. And this seemed a little more forcing, and I liked keeping the A6-7-6 in my hand because it looked to me like it had a little more potential to plus wall things in his hand, like the 9 facing up here, right? Suddenly I have a plus wall on that, while I wouldn't if I had played the A6-7-6 and kept the 7-6-A6. So I went with this. I think it's a winning play. I don't think there's a lot Dalamar can do at this point. He ended up going in 8, and what did I do? Yeah, I just played in 6, and we have a win. He can't actually take anything, and it's game over. So I win the first game, but I thought really strong example of how powerful the hand is. The move in 7's a mistake, but the fact that the move in 5 is losing says a lot about how good the Una hand is. And I think I played pretty well overall, despite, you know, missing winning opportunities here. So not one of the games I'm going to really complain about my own play. In the second game, I'm going to be first turn again, and this is going to be with the same hand. So, one sec while it boots up. No, I keep clicking the wrong button. Alright, here we are. This is another game against Dalamar. And again, I was looking which of the corners do I want to start with. And I noticed he had 7-6-7-9 covers in 6, but 9-8-4-8 covers in 4. So the question for me was sort of which do I think he is kind of more setup power against, and I don't remember exactly my reason. My reason might have been that this I can't combo back, the secondary capture, while this one I can combo back. Might have been my reason. It might have also been that I didn't think there was a 5 setup against this or something. I'm not sure. Anyways, I played here. I'm not sure it was the better of the two. They look pretty similar. And I think Dal made a really nice move in 3 here. This is a really hard corner, really specifically difficult numbers for my hand to deal with. I would much prefer it, of course, to have an 8 facing my starter and a 9 facing down, but no such luck, and it's not a corner I deal with well. Obviously, I cannot take it at all at the moment. So I decided to set up against it, and this is a pretty standard follow-up to my starter. And you can see how the kind of opposite a9 corners play really well with the a7 6/7s, just chucking in a random move for him. He did not play this, because now this guy has both these squares. Doesn't combo both here, but does combo both here. And this guy takes one and has the combo here, and this guy now has the plus here, and this guy has the same here. So it sets up a lot of synergies. I usually don't think these kind of adjacent corners met by a center play is a great winning chance, because it tends to concede too many safe squares to the opponent. But it sets up so much synergy, it's hard to be behind, and I think I still should have some ability to press here. Dalamar then made, I think, another really good move. And the point is, he also has the combo in 4, so if I take, he can take back, and this only leads to a tie. Though we'll keep seeing that my a6 7 6s are surprisingly capable side-to-side sweepers, and will keep performing better there than you'd expect. And even though they look like up-down cards here at the end of the game where I'm a little behind, they in fact are enough to pull out the tie here. I just go in 9. So instead, I thought a bit about this position, and at first I wanted, I think, this move. But I thought they could just go 2. Yeah, I thought they could just go 2. And I realized if I go here and they block 2, which card should we block 2 with? Something like this. I have this setup. And this is where the 8-4 and the 10+6 really pays off, is with setups like this that occasionally come up. So one bias I should have playing this hand, and I've tried to have, is if I'm going to use one of the a6s, whichever 4 is kind of out there on the board from the a9 6/4s, well, really, the only one that can be played off, because I have a 6-8-8-6, not an 8-6-6-8, is going to be this kind of direction, in which case the a6-7-6 is the one that has the potential to get neat plus walls. I guess it can go the other way if the 4-8-9-6 is in 5 and the 6-8-8-6 is in 1. So depending on which card I have in 5 and where the 4 is pointed, I should be a little more biased to holding on to the card with the 10 facing into the 4. And so that was what I spotted here that led me to 7-6-A6. And Dal can tie by playing in 2 here, but he missed it this time and went for 9-8, 4-8, and 7, which again, both games he was bitten by going in 7 and kind of trying to set up more things. But my A6-7-6 is just now much too strong. He set my card up really well in both 4 and 8. And the game finishes. I take 2 because my other card has the combo in both the remaining squares. He plays in 4, and I have the combo here. But you can see how the 8s and 4s can play together, even if I didn't, in fact, put the 8 there this game. So I think I played better this game. I'm pretty sure I didn't make any mistakes this game, and I found ways to at least make it a little tricky, though I think his first and second moves were both really good, and thus should have directed the game to a tie, and maybe even a slight advantage for him as it happened. So that was game 2. Currently on 2 wins, which is a nice start to a rule set, or to the site returning. In game 3, I had second turn, and I guess we won't say who my opponent was. They played very interestingly. So I'm second turn this time. You'll notice they also have an A6-7-6, and they have a hand of much weaker cards than me, but I think they'll handle it interestingly. They just go in the corner, and I have the kind of normal decision of which of my 2 corners do I play. And this one, they seemed better set up against because 7-5-6-A now has the capture in 8. This one, they have no capture in 2, so I went with this one. Not doing particularly subtle things. And they played this really forcing line. I'm going to actually say who the player is. It's Wavy, who has played in my Triad Wars 3. And his best game in it in round 2, he found they only have 1 recapture, and I can set up combos against that and really exploit that. And I think showed a very stylistically similar thing here, where he noticed all my plays in 4 are a little ugly. Right here, he has the combo. A6-7-6s are just so good. Here, same combo, right? Here, same combo. My hand is very repetitive with these sixes. Here, doesn't take and concedes the same combo. So he noted he could really cover this four square, and I think he's really good at spotting these ways to attack a square and force you to do something around it, or make it unplayable terrain for you. That's a really neat skill. So I didn't like any of the options in 4, so I went to 9 instead, because I spotted safety and I am a simpleton. And here again, the reason I said his name, despite not having permission, is because he's the first one to get a tie against this hand. He has to calculate really precisely here, and he does. He spots that a6, 7-6 works, because despite the fact that I go in 5 here, and I have a big setup in 6, and he has no real play in 6, because I can sort of just take back in 2, right? And I just win, just by pure power. Again, the sideways 6s are surprisingly powerful and hold up more than you'd expect. And in fact, he only has one tie here, but he clearly spotted it before playing in 4, because if you don't spot this, you can't make that move. And just a very nice sequence for him to hold the tie here. Plays 6-9, 7-7, and 3, and the 4-9, a5 is enough captures in both ways. So I played in 6, he played in 2, and just very nicely held tie with a weaker hand, just forcing clever moves. I didn't have to do anything too subtle, and I did get to press for a win. So I was still very happy with the hand's performance here, because I felt he was clever, my hand played itself, and he still had to be clever to tie. So I thought it again spoke to how good the hand was, but I think it also really nicely played by Wavy. Nice tie. Not a game I feel bad about, don't think I made any errors there. But a good game. This fourth game is going to be against Vialva. I'm going to be on second turn again. And I think I'm going to be making a video soon about games Vialva has played, because he's been, I think, the person who's played the most open games, maybe by a decent margin, since the site's return, and I've gotten to catch a few of them. And he's a very interesting combative player, and I think it'll be fun to explore his games. And even better, S.E. Carver, a tournament from like 6 years ago or 5 years ago or something that never finished, both finalists are back, Vialva and Turds, and so they're going to get to play each other in the final, and that's going to be coming up soon. And it'll be nice to have looked at Vialva's play, a player who mostly came after I had left the site, who I never really got to see play much except now, and it's going to be fun to see him in action. So here is my game against Vialva, and we'll certainly be seeing more of him. He started in 6, which is a little bit of an odd starter in some ways, because it has a bunch of synergies with my hand, and it's like easy to find, safe moves for me. It's conceding safety immediately. But we can also see it sets up synergies with his. 6A, 7-6 is sort of immediately powered up. And I don't remember exactly why, but I didn't love the look of this. I thought if they just take back, I didn't have an L I was happy with, because I had no play in 2 that sets me up to have a threat in 5, except for this. So why didn't I like this? Thought I didn't like this. Looks pretty appealing to me now. It does give him 1, of course, but he doesn't want to take 1 because I hit back with 5. Maybe there was a setup in 5 I saw? I'm not seeing it now. But I was put off. I didn't see a good L, because the L I wanted was I wanted to have this card go here. I thought that, after I go here, I play this here, and then I have a perfect card for 5 and many cards that are great for 7. And that appealed a lot more to me, though in retrospect, 9-6-4A and 9 looks pretty good to me as well. So I ended up going with 7-6, A6, and 9, noting my hand's really powerful, and I can combo things, right? This one, it's easy for me to combo the 6s. This one's the only other one that can take. It's easier for me to combo the 8s, and I'm the only one who has a plus in 5. So he can't really approach my card. And I thought, this looks very promising, and if he goes in 1 or 3, I have a kind of, not that, just anything in 3. I have an L setup I'm really happy with, and I think I can press there. And maybe I still have L's in 2 as well. And I think the key of L setups is usually, whenever you're thinking of going for an L, the idea has to be, I have a threat in 5. Or it usually is, doesn't have to be. But I think the quick heuristic for whether an L is good or not is who controls 5. And I felt this would be a really nice way for me to control 5, and I was expecting a nice, pleasant L, and then Vialva plays this move. And this is going to start to show Vialva is, I think, a very complex combative player, just setting up kind of combo synergies. Because now 6A, 7-6 is 3 and 5. And he doesn't really have any other squares. Like 8-5, A5 or A8, 2-8 is pretty good in 7. But still doesn't have a threat in 8 necessarily, because I can combo stuff back. You know, it doesn't necessarily respond to things, but it's just setting up more synergy. And I sort of said, okay, I'm going to build out safety. I like my own setup. This looks pretty good. You know, 6A, 7-6 does not do quite as much in 5 anymore. This seems good. And he quickly hits me with this move, just saying 6A, 7-6 is going to be the best card you've ever seen when it lands in 5. And it's also really good in 3. And again, I was kind of like, oh, I didn't consider that. This is scary stuff. Now, I think it is the losing mistake. I think probably could have hit a card, specifically in 1. I think should have played in 1, because you've got 5 really well covered. You've got cards that are really good in 7. There's cards that are good in 3, either of these. And 1 is the one square which combos potentially are going to land on that he just doesn't have. And I don't have it either, but it affects me less, because on second turn, you're not going to be the last play, and you are going to determine which squares they land on to a greater extent. And so not having a square at all is going to be more important for him to block out quicker. And so I think something in 1 is probably the best try to hold this position. Maybe 3 as well, though 3 is a good square for him. Anyways, goes in 2. Again, really complicated move. It was just fun to see moves like this. I showed the Great Sephiroth game the other day, and I think that game was awesome. And just, I think it's really cool to see players play like this, whether or not it works. And Vialva has said, you know, he doesn't always take the most care in his moves. And I think this is one of those moves that's a really cool move and really neat to have instinctual, and happens not to work here, but is a very creative idea. But I guess the big problem is 6A, 7-6 is only good in 5 and 3. So if I can cut out one of those squares, he has to hold on to it, because he needs something good for 5, but he can't have it as his last card. So what I do is I blocked 3 here, and now if he doesn't play it in 5, it's not going to get to go in 5. I'm going to block 5 next turn, and so he goes in 5, and we play in 7, and I get a 7-3 win. So the hand ended up getting 3 wins and a draw. Very pleased with the hand's performance. Think I played pretty well in these games. Just made a couple misses against Dalamar in the first game, and maybe there were better ways to apply pressure than I did against Wavy. But overall, I think I played nicely here. But most impressed, honestly, by Vialva, I think. Just the sequence of playing in 4 and 2 there. Maybe players were doing that more in the later days, but in my time, this was a very, very rare sequence to see, and seeing someone play it quickly was really neat. Just kind of moves that aren't usually on my radar. I've gotten a little better, or I've thought a bit more, maybe not better because I haven't really been able to test myself at seeing moves like the one in 4, but following it up in 2 is just clearly part of the intended plan. It was really neat to see. And so very nicely played there, even if it didn't work out. So now we're going to get into my random games. I have 4 of these as well. First was against an opponent we shall not name, mostly because I'm not entirely sure who it was. And I am on second turn here, and they started with 5-5, A9, and 3. And I think this is probably where I made my biggest mistake of any of the games. I ended up just hating my position. I don't have any way to really address their starter. And so what I think I should have done is started trying to build out something of my own. And I think the way to do so is I've got to build something that challenges them at some point, because they basically have this free card in 3. And so I think the logical play would have been 9-8, 4-8, and 7. And of course they do have, good control here. Of course I have the same control with my 6-8, 6-8, and my 1-8, A8. But the key point is I can recapture from 4, and they don't have a capture in 4. And it's hard for them to set up in 4 here. They could play something like 9-4, 9-7 in 1, but then there's a lot going on, and I have many more chances to try to complicate the game, rather than they just get to keep playing out free cards. I now threaten to lock in a card as well. And I think this would have been the logical thing to do, and would have given me much better chances to hold. I think my move's losing. I ended up just taking safety, but I think I just have huge problems here. I have so many 8s to the right. Every card in my hand is an 8 to the right, and this just leads to huge problems. Like, I think one way for them to deal with this is just here, when I cannot take their card because they combo anything so badly. I don't have anywhere else I really want to play, and this 6-8-6-8 is just going to sweep me. If we fill up the top 2 rows, sure, I have 1 too, but that doesn't matter. They have last turn, and they're just going to slaughter me, and I don't know how I would have tried to defend this, but I think I would have just lost. I guess here's interesting. So maybe I do know how I would have tried to defend it, because now my 6-8-6-8 is pretty good. But even still, like, how exactly do I want to try this for them? Like, if they go here, and I take the same, and they go here, don't I just lose? I think I just lose. Yeah, this looks horrible. So even then, they're just, if the top 2 rows fill up, it's horrible. And 1-8, A8, does lots of good-looking things. It sets me up for a same or a safe plus in both 4 and 6, and it's just not good enough. So really horrible position. They tried to be clever, though, and this was my saving grace of A7-2-8 here, with the point that if I combo stuff, they can combo and flip stuff back. But I realized I can just walk into this, right? Something like this, and they have no left power. I'm in great shape. Their up-down sweepers are nowhere near as dangerous as their side-to-side sweepers were in the last line. This position should be winning. So I just walk into it. They think a bit and decide, okay, that didn't work. Go here. And I took a while to find, longer than I would have liked to find the win here, which is just to go in 5 and block everything. Just to make sure it worked, but because the point is, if they combo, I combo back, and they don't have anything at the end. So I think they ended up going somewhere else. Where's the game? No, they did go in 8. And yep, the game finished out like this. And I get another win, which is great. And, my random was really bad at dealing with their thing, but I think on the first turn, it would have been really logical to play 9-8, 4-8 here, and I don't think I even considered it. I think I sort of hated every move I looked at, and then I found this and thought, at least that's safety, at least that's something, but it wasn't good enough. And I should have noted just how many 8s to the right I have, and that they're 6-8-6-8, they're A7-2-8, they're 8-5-6-A. So much of their hand has a really good chance to punish my rightward 8s, that I just can't use this card this early. And so I think that was probably the biggest mistake I made in any of these games, and I was lucky to get away with it. So we move on to the second random game. And this time I will have second turn. I will again say my opponent, because they've already made excuse for whatever happens, in that they were clearly playing a lot of games at once and joking around in all of them. They played a hand with 5 cards for the same corner against Elial and got a tie out of it. And our opponent this game will be Bren. And he played 6-7-5-A and 6. And I think this is a very common theme in Bren's games, is he really likes side plays where he can take back with a really high out-facing number and sort of build out safety from there. And I was looking at ways to immediately attack it, but I didn't like any of them. Beatrix, 2-9-6-A, takes back really well. None of them clicked for me. I ended up going here as the move that I thought kind of had the most synergy with my hand. A7-7-4 plays off it nicely if needed. And I noticed they can't take it because everything that has access to it is a 9 facing up, and I have multiple ways to plus wall or same wall that. And so I think this was a good move. In retrospect, maybe using Cypher would have been a little better. I thought that this card was really good at playing against their 9s, but having another card that also plays against 9s really isn't going to hurt here. And so I think maybe Cypher is the better card to get out of my hand, even though it is less safe. I'm really not sure on this. Computer testing kept telling me you should use Cypher here, and my instinct is this is the better card to play. And I think if you can do a good job explaining why Cypher there is better, you are an excellent player, and kudos to you. But I played it this way, and Bren went 9, 5, 8, 6, and 5. And that 296A is going to be really strong on the top row. So I thought about this position for a while, and maybe one of the reasons not to use Cypher is that keeping the A out just offers more safety in these kind of positions. Because this is a very appealing move, and maybe another mistake I made was I probably should have just gone here. I think this is a little stronger than what I did. I spotted an interesting line though. I don't feel too bad about what I did. And it makes sense that if I had played Cypher in 7, I could then play 7, 8, 4, and 8 safely and still have this card left over to be really good in, for instance, 2. So I think that starts to make sense of why Cypher might have been the better card to use. I ended up using Cypher here with the idea that I have 6A, 7, 6 as the combo in both 2 and 4, and they don't have a way to take my card in 9 without being vulnerable to 5, and they're leaving themselves open to a lot of combos. And so I thought probably has to go here, and then I think it's probably going to trickle out into a tie there. He ended up taking, though, just forcing me to do the calculation, and I was really slow on the calculation here, because I miscalculated one key line, and that made me struggle, because I thought, okay, I have to hold on to this card. I want it to hit in one of these two squares. I do not want to do it immediately, because they can go... I mean, if they combo back, it's a tie, right? So I don't want to tie here. I thought this is probably winning. I don't want to tie. And this move might just work, actually, but it's a weird move. Anyways, so I didn't want to combo it immediately. So I wanted to leave both these squares open so I could hit them with one of them, because they have neither, and then leave them with the other square. So I thought I probably want to play in 1 or 3. And I don't want to use this card because it's my big sweeper. So I thought, okay, easy. I play here. But then I thought they play there, and the problem is they have the combo back. And if I go this way, I win. So I just completely blanked that I had the threat there in 1 as well as in 2. And this drove me off this line, and then I couldn't find a win for the longest time because I had just decided this move wasn't winning. And finally, with like 15 seconds left, I realized I could use this and win. And I did eventually find it. And I'm really glad I did, because this would have been a bad position to have fully miscalculated. Because the point is, I still have the huge threat in 2. If they don't block 2, they lose because 8-5, 9-5 goes there. And if they do block 2, well, they don't have a good way to do so. And I believe Bren... I keep losing my place in this chart. I believe Bren did block 2, but either way they block 2, right? This way I have to combo this way, and the 296A is terrible up down. This way makes more sense, but I still have the combo, and I win 8-2. And so, another win, but another one where in the first one, I think I was losing out of the opening here. I think I missed a winning chance or 2, maybe. But then did calculate eventually well after kind of making a meal of it in my head. We all have games. 4-move calculations are not trivial, and we shouldn't pretend they are. This one I just feel bad about because I had multiple paths to the win and ended up being down to like, it's a 3-minute game, but ended up being down to like 15 seconds before I realized any of them worked. And I had dismissed a working one as not working. So there's another game. I try to be harsh on myself because I think I should play optimally and I don't, but it's worth trying to figure out one's mistakes and where you could potentially improve. So this is game number 3, and I started with 9, 5, 8, 6, and 1. This was very much I don't particularly see anything here, but this is a card I'm not hyped about. I don't love its matchup against their hand. But you could argue the 6-5 has some play against their rightward 9s, but in nothing I looked at did it ever come up. So it's sort of a card I wanted out of my hand. I have a same wall in 2. Seemed like a move to make. And I think my opponent played nice reply. Went in 5. And I was having trouble finding stuff here. Or it looked like a reasonable reply. There's some tricky stuff here I didn't really look at. Because I can go really combo heavy, and this is sneaky good because they actually don't have any way safely to play in 2. because both these cards combo the card in 3. I did not see this. But it's pretty strong, because I set up 6. They don't have a way to play comfortably in 2. A9-5-3-5 has the combo in 6. It has the combo in 2. It has the combo in 4. There's a lot of power to this move. This would have been a very nice find. I did not find it. Instead, I went with 9. It seemed like a move. There's some synergy here. I wasn't finding exact lines, and I really like to calculate exact lines to feel good about moves. When I set up these kind of diagonal setups, these slashes, I often feel they're a bit vague, and I tend to like concrete lines rather than vague ones where I'm just like, okay, I think I've set up enough synergy that this should be a good advantage. They can't really combo back my recaptures. This looks pretty good. That tends to be not where I'm at my most comfortable, and I think there are players that handle those positions better than me. Notably, Delial. My opponent went in 4. I kind of think they should block somewhere. Probably 6, just because they have safety there. This one's not safe, and the Q is just really good for me, and leads to a pretty quick win here. They end up going in 6. I take them, and they go in 8. And I take them. So we win that one 7-3. No, we win that 8-2 because we comboed them. Goofy combo. Didn't see the plus. I didn't see the plus now, nor did I see it during the game. I thought I was going to win 7-3. So nice to see that's repeated. And we move on to the final game of the 8 I've so far played in Open. And our final game will be against the highly esteemed Piggy Man. And it will be on a level 6 random, which is always a curious one. Piggy is first turn, and he quite correctly plays 6, 8, 4, 4, and 7, and I felt absolutely horrible. I kind of hate every card in my hand. None of them are cards I like to use. Probably my favorite type of these is the 7, 6, 6, 4, maybe the 7, 7, 6, 3. But these are not cards I would use by choice. His starter is safe. I cannot set up to cover it from both sides. This felt like a horrible position. I had no idea what to do. And so I sort of went with something that has... I haven't been playing much, but sort of in my head emerged as like a panic option of playing in a far side and hoping things work out. And specifically using up the card that A, plays worst in the lines I calculate, and B, has the least power facing towards their starter. I find that's useful. And C, controls the kind of squares next to them. So I played here because I noticed they have no 8s down, so my 7s and my 8s up potentially are very threatening to any card they would play easily in 1 or 3, don't want to give them a free move. It uses up a card I just don't want to have in my hand, and it passed the turn. At least it's his turn now. I think Piggy continues quite reasonably, just building out from his strong starter. But he does give me a safe square in 1, so I was very ready to take it, and had to kind of think a bit to figure out what I wanted there. He did set up a combo in 5 with 7, 4, 7, 5. So I might be able to get away with other cards in 1, but I ended up just not feeling comfortable about any of them. Even if I couldn't see the loss, the line seemed pretty scary, and I thought maybe I could sneak out with this, but I was terrified. I thought he was going to go in 1 here, and I actually was going to try to be fancy. I was going to try to play this move, because I noticed it set me up in both 8 and 6. That was my intention. Maybe I would have ended up playing in 5, I'm not sure. But that was my plan when I played in 1, was if he went in 3, I could hit him with 9. And hopefully that would be confusing enough that it might work. However, I think he made a better move. He played in 5. And I, again, am in a lot of trouble. That 7-4-7-5 is incredibly good going up and down. And the 4-8-2-8 will kind of find just enough use to be good. And so if we put in, some move, like here, he's up. No, this one doesn't work because I have the combo. And that only ties. I guess here. Yeah, because I have all these 6s down, and the 8 sets up the 7 and the 5 to plus all the 6s, so I just can't play anywhere and I lose. So I have no ties in 3 because my 6 is down. I mean, if the game is up-down, it's horrible for me because he has this 8 coming out of the square 8. So I have to block 8, and I have to do so with the exact right card, and happy to say I did find it. And while this leaves a combo potential, I have the combo back, so that one's okay. And while they can play moves like here, I can play here, and they don't, no, sorry, I can't play here. I can play here, and they don't quite have, this is my bad, and they don't quite have the capture, so I can't use the card with an 8 up. And I also, why did I have to use the 7746 instead of the 7367? This one had a problem. What was it? Oh yeah, they can play immediately, and I can't combo back the 7475. I can't take it, and the 4828 will take something on the last turn. So I have to do it this way, so I control the 7475 and 9, and I sneak out with the tie. He ends up going here. I take it with something from 9, and he takes back, and I escape with a tie. Good game from Piggy. Really put a ton of pressure on, played this, I think, really forcefully. The move in 5 was really good. I was expecting 3. His move was much tougher to find a tie against, and really nicely played by him. And I don't think I made any mistakes that one. I think my move in 2 was just good enough to sneak out a tie. So those are the 8 open games I've played. Happy to say, haven't lost yet, though have definitely been in a losing position and missed some more ambitious and unwinning tries. But overall, pretty happy with how I'm playing, and I hope the games were interesting. I think bunch of players showed interesting ideas. Wavy with his way of controlling space, saying, you want to go here, I'm going to make sure the combos don't work there. Piggy with his pressure this game. Bren setting up, just going into the complications without any worry. Vialva playing excessively complicated. Some interesting games. I hope you enjoyed them. And next time we'll talk about a new player.